Hi, my name's Cindy Evans and I'm a lecturer at the Mount Lawley campus of TAFE, and I'm just going to do a little presentation on how I've been using the statistical tool inside Blackboard to really assist my students and definitely to assist myself. So this statistical tool, it's embedded into every single unit, so you can go in and I'm only going to show you how to use 3 different tools, but there's there's just a myriad of tools inside there. So the more you explore, the more you can find a tool that's perfect for you. So the tools I'm talking about is evaluation, and the way I use it in 3 different ways. In the first 2 weeks, and pretty much on an ongoing basis, but definitely in the first 2 weeks, I identify the students at risk, those students that are not opening that Blackboard and not finding out what their obligations are. In about week 4, when I'm looking at my whole course or a long-term unit, I look at study habits like anatomy and physiology. It's a 20-week course, and in week 4 I get a really good idea of how well the students are starting to use the tools that I want them to use. And finally, and this is my most powerful, supporting the students at risk in meetings. Having this statistical tool that I can use, I can generate it and I can give them a copy and me a copy, and then we have this little tool that we can use to have a discussion about the students' own obligations towards their own study. So what is Blackboard evaluation? Go into any unit, and I would advise you as you go through this PowerPoint, open up your own unit and do this stuff. Open up the evaluation tool. So when you open the unit, go down on the black menu, and just above your grade centre you've got an evaluation tool. So evaluation is statistical analysis, and of course it's a computer, so this student learning tool has got lots and lots of statistics inside it. But I only use it in 3 ways, and the first way is I identify students at risk. And of course I am going to keep experimenting, but right now this is how I'm using it. So in about week 2, I go into the evaluation course activity overview. So just on that black menu, just above your grade centre, click evaluation and then click into course reports. Then onto course activity overview. Now then, this is what comes up. A beautiful overview of the whole group, your student group, and how as individuals. So this one tells me how long my students are spending. This one, the individual students. So what I do, I go through, and anyone that has not opened the Blackboard gets an email that says you've been identified as a student at risk, you haven't been using your Blackboard and you have not read any of your assessment obligations, and you're not doing any of the pre-reading or pre-knowledge reading required of this unit. Then I ask them to come in and have a meeting with me. And of course I do that regularly with my Cert 2s, because that's what you've got to do. You've got to keep on top of them. And having that tool is very powerful. Now the next way I've used this, and this is thanks to the flipped classroom project I was involved in last semester, I use this tool to look at how well are my learning resources doing. You know, all the work I put into it, are the students liking it and using it? And are they using it the way I want them to? So again, you go into your evaluation, click onto course reports, then you go down to overall summary of user activity. This is a group analysis. And this is what you get from this group analysis. You get this beautiful pie chart that tells you where have the students been spending all their time. Now this brown bit on this chart is a disappointment, because actually that's the welcome page. Every single student, they come into the welcome page and then they go off to their assessments or their learning tools or whatever. So the welcome page gets this great big, oh wow, look, all these students are going in there and spending time in there, but they're just landing there and then heading off to their assessments or off to their learning tools or off to their blogs. So there's a nice pie chart, and what we want from the pie chart, a good balance between the assessments and the learning resources. And this is one of the units from the Cert 2, and you can see on this chart, as the knowledge assessments were becoming due, a great increase in the amount of days that the students were opening up that learning and that unit and coming into it. As the practical assessment drew near, you get the same build-up of student input inside the Blackboard, this unit, which is exactly what I wanted to see. So ideally I would like this at the very, very beginning. I would like to see a lot more hours being in that. But now I know that that's a lack. I can go in and look at ways of getting those students inside those Blackboard shell earlier. So when I'm using this group look, this are the questions I want to answer. Do the students understand their assessment requirements? Probably the longer you've got students, individual students spending time inside those assessments, you might find you might have to re-read questions. If you've got students who are not spending, like whole groups of students who are not spending much time inside your assessment, are you challenging those students? Are you asking the right questions? But that's the questions I ask. Am I engaging them in the assessment process? Are they using their learner guides? You know, the way I want them to use their learner guides, using that seek function and learning how to use keywords. This tool tells me if the students are doing that as a group. And of course, that's what I'm looking for. Am I getting it across to most of the students? Are the PowerPoints being read? Are they going in there and spending time on them? And are they using those study tools appropriately? So that's how I use this statistical view. Yeah, and I particularly like the way that you can see each day, you know, are your students only going in on the day of the unit, or are they going in after, looking at the pre-knowledge and doing the work you want them to do? The final one, and this is my most powerful tip for everyone, is this: speaking to the students at risk. If I had known that this evaluation tool was there, I would have been using it for the last 7 years, but I only found it last semester and I want to share it. So going into that same place, evaluation, course reports, right down to single course overview participation report. Now what this does is it gives you a breakdown of how many minutes the students have been in that unit. It tells you, did they click on this link? There's a little thing that says yes they did, and how many times they clicked on that link. So for example, anyone that teaches diversity, there's some assessment related documents that the students are supposed to use to answer the questions. This tells us, did they open those documents? Because often the discussion is around, I think you're making up your answers. Now I've got this tool where I can say, well, if you're not making them up, then give me a reference, because I know you haven't used ours. But mostly